our last topic, which is related to using non-cognitive assessments to support program participants. So these assessments provide really actionable data to help you foster some key non-cognitive factors at critical times in a student's experience, and also allow you to act on that student provided data both individually and in aggregate. A little bit of context related to these assessments. Mentor Collective supports you in assessing these non-cognitive factors up to 3 times per program, depending on your program design and the duration of your program. We'll support you at assessing this at the beginning of your program, the midpoint, and also again at the end. And the factors that these assessments measure are closely connected to retention, academic success, and positive student outcomes. So really key information for you to understand, kind of retroactively looking back, as Shannon mentioned, right? If you're at the tail end of your program, you can see the data that was gathered through these assessments through start, mid, and end. But also if you're thinking ahead, we might be thinking about when to actually do these assessments, right? The timing of these assessments matter, and you can, in consultation with your partner success manager, determine when are the key times that you want to measure these different factors. So again, depending on your program design, the things that we are assessing, helping you assess, are sense of belonging, academic self-efficacy, academic help seeking, and also career decision self-efficacy. So I'll talk and demo in the dashboard 3 different ways that the dashboard allows you and helps you access and also act on that assessment data. So let's pop back into the dashboard. And we are going to actually start on this main dashboard page and scroll up a little bit, and you'll see this assessment tab. If you don't see the assessment tab, do not fear. It simply means that we've not launched an assessment for you yet. I know some of you in here are folks I've been working with in onboarding. So once we've actually launched one, that it will generate something there. And then you have lots of great visual representation of the data that is available to you on those non-cognitive factors. You can see the average scores, the number of respondents, how it's kind of changed over time, also the distribution of those scores. Wanted to quickly mention and kind of orient you to this average one here and let you know that the start of program assessment is launched to every participant who's registered in the program. So they have the ability to take it only if they, just registered for the program or took the matching survey. But the midpoint and the endpoint is strategically designed to only go to those students that are active, that are matched in the program. So you'll notice if that ever comes up as a question, just wanted to mention that who actually has the ability to access that information and reply to the assessments. On here, I wanted to point out this distribution. I love this pie chart. I think it really helps to visualize the average score and how it's distributed amongst your participants and based off of the assessment area. So here we have you have the ability to toggle between mentors if your program design is launching assessments to mentors and to mentees, and also between the different assessment areas, or academic self-efficacy versus sense of belonging. It's also interactive. So you could click on any of these areas of the pie chart, and it's going to take you to the participants page and pre-apply some filters for you related to assessments. And I'll show you that here in just a minute. But before I do, I also wanted to point out this key feature that I think gets hidden sometimes, which is our little alert bell up at the top. So Mentor Collective recommends, of course, logging into your dashboard at least once per day. And this alert bell can help you easily identify things that have happened since the last time that you logged in. So when a participant submits an assessment and they have answered have a response that is less than 3, which is kind of that midpoint, on a scale of 1 to 5, below a 3, it's going to alert you up here. So 15 students have reported low sense of belonging. 4 participants have reported low academic self-efficacy. And I could click on that, that alert, and it's again going to take me directly to that participants page and apply a filter, which is the average sense of belonging score less than 3. So that can help me to quickly identify, pinpoint those particular participants who have answered a question in that way, and we can click on their profile and see a little bit more information about their assessments, right? We have average score up here, but then you have the responses to every single question that's asked on that, that survey. So we see here, alerted us because Bryce answered a 2 on whether or not they feel like they're an important part of that the school's community. So to Shannon's earlier point about kind of assessing institutional belonging, this can be something that you're utilizing and kind of thinking about both on an individual level for Bryce or the particular students, but also broadly with your participants. So wanted to quickly demonstrate again, like how you can get to that information easily through filters, right? So of course, I mentioned you can click on the pie chart or different things from the assessments tab, click on the alerts, but you can also see that information directly from your participants page by using our handy dandy filter feature. So if we're looking for students, any participant, mentor, mentee, doesn't matter, we want to know about their assessment data. That's the last section on the filters is related to assessments. So we can, I really like to use this feature, especially for those students that maybe are kind of hanging out in the middle, right? So we have, of course, students that are lower. We want to do some interventions for them, or to be aware of that information, reach out, support those students in getting the resources, getting connected with the resources. But also there's students that might indicate that they're right in the midpoint, and that's an opportunity for us to influence it one way or the other. So it can be really useful for you to, at different points in the program, also identify maybe students who are at that midpoint or that low to midpoint. So say, for example, we want to look at sense of belonging again, you have the ability to indicate a particular score that you're interested in seeing. So it could be an exact score, could be between certain things, greater than, less than, etc. So we want to say, between a 1 and a 3, for example. And we click on that. That gives us all of these particular students that fall within that range. And if we click on this student, we again can see a lot of information about them, and especially to some of the other activities that they've done. You'll notice they have a lot of conversation log, which is awesome. I hope that this particular mentor and mentee pair, it's contributing to their sense of belonging. But I wanted to also point out to you that you can filter the activity. So if there's lots of things going on, but you're only curious about the assessments, you can filter just for assessments here. And that will get you to that page. You don't have to scroll. And again, we can see that Alejandro here, right in the middle, for feeling the comfort level at the institution, feeling if they're an important member of the school's community and they feel supported at the institution. So here's an opportunity for us to potentially influence through other things that we might know about this particular student, right? We know about their goals, we know about their hobbies. So kind of tying all of the things together that Shannon shared earlier, maybe you think about some proactive interventions to move the needle a little bit on this student's sense of belonging at your institution. And also want to talk a little bit about even that strategy. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but the strategy of the timing of the surveys. So you may, at that midpoint, you may want to work with your partner success manager to actually launch the mid-program survey before they go away for winter break, to see if there's students that are on the fence about their sense of belonging or even low. And you can run some additional analyses to see, are these students that have a low sense of belonging registered for the spring semester? And if they're not, maybe we're providing that list to those academic advisors, or we're doing some additional interventions or strategies to see if we can get them connected with an advisor to register, understand a little bit more about why they might not be feeling particularly connected or supported by the institution. Also wanted to mention for here, I think it's great to understand, right, who's on the lower end. We want to do some outreach, some strategies, but thinking about as an administrator, I would probably also want to know some individuals who are on the higher end, right? So we can do that same thing by applying the filter to say we want somebody that's greater than a 4 for their sense of belonging. So that can help me to understand and identify, and we can even further refine it to see who's actually still in the program too. So folks that are currently matched in my program, high sense of belonging. These might be individuals that we can do a focus group with. Like, what were some things that what you did, some things you got involved in? Were there particular individuals on campus, a faculty member, a support staff that made you feel connected to this particular institution? And that can also help you to think about what are some strategies, some interventions for the students that are lower on that end, right? Mentor Collective can support you in doing some micro surveys, or you can think about a survey to send out to these individuals who are in the have reported a high sense of belonging or high academic self-efficacy. It can help you to continue to think about what are ways that we're doing well in these areas. What are some things that the institution is doing well that made these particular students feel connected to the campus? So those are some practical strategies for leveraging assessments. Of course, many, many more that are available to you. And I'm going to hand it back over to Shannon to talk about some strategic applications in more detail.
I'm going to be super fast here because you all have given us a great deal of time, and I appreciate your attention. And those of you who've had your camera on and nodding at us, thank you so much for that, because that makes us feel like we're talking to people. So the way to be thanks, Robbie. Hi. The thing I want to point out is if you are paying attention to this data in your program, the element of a successful mentorship program you are addressing is being data-driven. This is students are giving you this information, you are using it, you are acting on it, and that's fantastic, whether it's at an individual level or strategically using the information across campus. Lydia said this, but I want to double down on it because it's so important. When you all have programs like this that are focused on things like sense of belonging and helping people academically, you are fostering those things. You are fostering a sense of belonging. You are fostering academic help-seeking skills. That doesn't mean you're increasing it because they might have started up high. It doesn't mean you're decreasing it because they might have started low. It means you are paying attention to where people are at that time and place, and you are acting in the way that is appropriate to help support them in what they need at that time. That's the really important information about, or the value of non-cognitive information. Excuse me, I'm choking on my excitement. One other unpaid endorsement, College Students' Sense of Belonging, Terrell Strayhorn's book. Use a very specific example of what Lydia was pointing out before. If you have bridge programs for students, whether they're first generation students or incoming students, whoever they might be, those are designed to help people really establish a sense of belonging, really get excited about coming to campus. And then they get there and they're all rah-rah, and they give their non-cognitive rating, and it's a 5 out of 5. And then a couple of months later, they're students and they're still treated well and they're still having a positive experience, but it's not special anymore. And that sense of belonging might plummet. So sometimes though, if you have a special program and you also have this non-cognitive information from those students, pay attention to those groups specifically. That's not my example. That's Terrell Strayhorn's example. And I think it's worth paying attention to. The last thing, as a person who worked in institutional effectiveness, I cannot walk away without saying this is the most important use of this data in a student success strategy. And that is, in the same way that the matching surveys have the raw data is exportable, so are the assessment surveys. All of the things that Lydia showed you are great for managing the program, but these are also all available in exports that can be automated, or you can do that, or your IR office, or you can take that information just manually anytime you want. It's a super easy process. You hit the button. But this information is very valuable in other analyses across campus. You all are running your mentorship program, so you care about the efficacy of your program, but there is so much valuable data that is also there for additional analyses. We'll often have partners who say, yeah, our IR office has a survey where we measure things like academic help seeking or sense of belonging once a year in a major survey. Great, but that's once a year. And non-cognitive information is time specific and context specific. So if you can add 3 more data points on belonging and help seeking and academic self-efficacy, that's a way more meaningful analysis. So make sure your IR offices know about these things.